Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast with Jimmy Purdy. We're bringing together industry leaders and those in the daily grind. Whether you're a tech looking to level up or a shop owner navigating the business, or just here for some real talk about the automotive world, we're finding the common ground in entrepreneurship and picking up some valuable tips along the way. So buckle up, let's shift into gear. Ready to take your shop to the next level? Growing a successful auto repair business takes more than just turning wrenches. You need the right strategy. Repair Shop of Tomorrow helps shop owners boost car count, increase profits, and streamline operations with expert coaching and marketing. Check them out today at repairshopoftomorrow.com and start growing tomorrow. Well, Mr. Mike from the hometown, Tascadero, one town over.
Close enough.
Yeah. I was just talking to the last guy about Paso, Tascadero, San Luis, like the grade's a great divider, North County, South County, so divided. Yeah, he's up in Fremont, and he's like, the towns are 20 or 30 miles apart, but it's all blended together. No one's like, oh, I'm from San Ramon, or I'm from Fremont, or whatever. It's all this, but in our North County is very separated.
So Templeton, Padero, Santa Margarita. I don't know who reps Shandon, but people do.
Yeah.
Heritage, it's its own town.
5 miles. Yeah, it is Heritage of San Miguel,
Art town, if it even exists anymore.
Yeah, 5 miles apart, but it's a clear definition, right?
Small town problems.
Yeah. Hopefully it stays around for a little while, but
We're hoping.
As the population increases, it's nice because you get, for the repair side, right? I kind of need more population to increase car count, but you do a lot of wholesaling, right? So you're on the part side, which is really interesting because I've never talked to anybody about the parts distribution side.
Yeah, exactly. So we're EC Products, Corvette Pacifica. It's been around 40 years. Manufacturing, distributing Corvette parts. So we're 75% wholesale, the rest retail. Big thing is just finding what people need for the cars and getting it to other distributors to get to everybody in their hands.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my side at AAPEX, is finding either new suppliers for new products or meeting with current suppliers to either improve on the quality of the products or increase volume flow of the products being manufactured.
That's cool, man. That's for me, I'm just walking around kind of looking to see the next new tool, or maybe gloves. I know the guys, because I brought the whole shop with us this year, and so they're all excited because they found these gloves that they really like, and they're like, oh, they told me they can get them for $10 a box or $5 a box, whatever it is, and I'm like, how many did you buy? Hold on a second here. No, they said they can do a minimum of one case. So there's a few distributors here that are trying to cut out maybe the middleman and do direct to retail, which is kind of cool. You can but for me on the repair side, it's the training is a big one. Connections is a big one, meeting people and then seeing them next year, and then you build a relationship, and that's really cool.
Nationwide network.
Yeah, it really is.
Because you guys can help each other as repair shops.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Comes in, someone doesn't know something, you can help them, or they can help you.
Yep, so. Absolutely. Tools, I use this tool for that, and honestly, just having friendships, right? And camaraderie, right?
Exactly.
Just someone to vent to for a few minutes.
Right. Well, then you go across the nation and you run into these other owners that you may have met. I know just in the parts business alone, over, 25 years I've been doing it. You run into people across the country. You go to car shows, you see other owners that people don't know who they are, but hey, they own, part ABC or something, a big distributor, or everybody knows their brand name.
Yeah.
But it's a personal basis, knowing these people.
Yeah.
And they distribute to the shops. People know the shops, the builders, but they don't know the other end. Where does this stuff come from? And is it dependent products?
Yes.
You guys are looking at tools and gloves, which is great. One case, two case. AAPEX is a great place for new sources like tire machines,
yes,
alignment racks, new technologies. The robots out there, Skynet coming alive, chasing people with oil balls.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't know if you saw those out there. It's winking at you and stuff. I don't know what use that would be in a shop really, but yeah, the technologies that you can see here that can potentially help a shop.
Yeah.
And bringing out your employees is a great thing to let them experience it and see what's out, because they might see something that you didn't see as an owner.
Oh, absolutely.
That could actually help their productivity. That's why I've brought a couple employees out with me, and they're out looking around right now. That's where our end's a little different, is instead of looking at gloves, we're looking at products, or, hey, we have had 10 customers request, a turn signal light for a 69 Corvette, as an example. Well, we find manufacturers that are making plastic lenses or die-cast housings, and we come up, hey, if we get you blueprints and we negotiate getting molds made, tooling, casting, then we have to predict the market. We've had enough customers request this part. When we go in to make something, instead of buying something that's already produced on the shelf, we'll go in, we'll get the casting done, whether if it's here in the U.S. or overseas. I know everybody wants to do USA manufacturing, but reality, it's next to impossible to do truly 100% USA on anything. There's a lot of people that do designed in the USA, but their mass production's done overseas, just because the cost of labor, cost of manufacturing. Every project we undertake for manufacturing parts, we always get it quoted in the US just so we know where it's at price wise.
I mean,
And we got to weigh, will someone pay a certain price for USA made versus import? Some parts, yes, some parts, no. But when you're talking a price difference of $10 versus $100 on a part, and the quality, because Taiwan manufacturing, some of these other countries, if you really look at the quality or you stay on the factory and know them well enough, they make a really good quality part if you make sure they do it.
Yeah.
So when my employees are here looking around, if, on that lens, for instance, if we found someone that needed it and we want to make it, we're going to go in that process. We'll invest in the tooling. We're going to go ahead and we'll make 1,000 units to get stock in. We'll get them produced, bring them in, get the tariffs, whatever's involved, and then we'll distribute them out to the industry. And it's mainly for parts that aren't being currently made. There's a lot of things we make. For instance, we do a 63 to 67 power antenna, a reproduction. We're at the correct antenna mast, shaft, notch in it. It'll pass NCRS judging standards. But the base unit of the antenna itself, there was an old company called Harada. They used to make an MX-22. So we actually went, when they went under, we went and we found a factory that made an identical replica to the base unit of this antenna for us. Then everything above that, we do in a Tascadero modify to make it correct for judging purposes. But that's just so customers, when they go through their concourse judging on the cars, they can get their points judging. But we invested the time and the money and the effort into making sure even the little metal tips that go on the antennas have to be a certain tip on it with a groove and kind of a cube shape or stump.
That's crazy.
Shape. So yeah, it's just an attention to detail.
Right.
Installing the
Easy on you to think about.
Wouldn't notice that probably.
No, I wouldn't.
The top section of the antenna mast has.
I like to get rid of those antennas. I don't like to see.
Just get rid of the power ones. Do the higher ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great energy here too.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, and the energy, like having your employees, like, I mean, as the owner, you understand, like you go tell them something and it's different than if they come up with the idea themselves. So when they see something, they get excited about it. It's like, man, that's like, not only did it take you out of the equation, but it's like already one step closer, you know?
Yeah, especially if it's going to help them in the shop too.
Yeah.
They're even that more excited to move forward with it and use it.
Now with we kind of talked about tariffs a little bit, but you talk about like the money of American or doing it in the States versus, overseas. So the idea was to bring more manufacturing to the States, right? And I'm as ignorant as you could possibly think of when it comes to parts, right? Manufacturing. But I think the majority of us think of that like, oh, that's a great idea, right? If you get tariffs, then they'll be forced to have more cost competitive options in the States, and that'll do more jobs. So that's the idea, right? And it sounds like it sounds so great, but you're the one dealing with it. What's your thought on that?
So it's, as a business owner, dealing with the tariffs, paying for them in bulk, and it's not just one or two items. We're bringing in 500 or 1,000 units of 20 different parts at a time. So it's big, tens of thousands of dollars that we're having to come up with to pay the tariffs to get the stuff in. The transition to U.S. manufacturing, like I said earlier, we always try to see pricing the parts out in the U.S. first for competitiveness. One, it's very expensive to come up with tooling in the U.S. and to do mass production. I've run into it taking longer lead times to get stuff made in mass production. I have a couple places that work really quick for me when I get stuff done here in the US, but then I have a couple die casters that I use on certain items, limited run stuff, that they'll take 6 months to a year to produce something for me.
Oh, wow.
The last item I quoted in the US, it took 6 months to get a tooling quote and product quote, which I don't know if they just didn't want to do it or what. But in Taiwan, in 45 days, I had a tooling quote, and they actually ran the tool out of a I don't know if they had a 3D printer or something. They were actually able to run me a prototype of the part, or they ran an actual main tool for the product. So in 45 days, I had a full tooling quote, price per piece, and I had a sample part in my hand.
So it's not just the price, it's the service.
It's the service too. Now, manufacturing in the U.S., great. Let's all for it. Let's do it. But a couple things need to happen. You can't just inflate the imported goods price because USA standard, you're paying more, getting a better quality. So if you're paying 50 or 100% tariffs on a part, it's costing you, instead of $10, it's costing you $20. Well, USA Made's always more expensive already. Well, USA Made is going to be like, well, if they're paying $20 with tariffs, I'm going to charge $50 for that part because they already have their extra USA quality on top. The other side of that to me is to set up manufacturing. It's not as easy as saying, all right, let's just run the tool. Here's the money. Let's just do it. You got to do projections. You got to find a facility to do it, unless if you own your own factory and you want to make a bunch of molds. And some of these molds and tooling, you only run every 3 or 4 years. So how much warehouse space, if you're making 500 pieces, but you're only running so many pieces a year, you need a place to store the tool. So you got that to consider. The other side is the time to make the tool, mass produce the part. Then you got to come up with your projections at the new cost. So, all right, we're going to run 1,000 units. The cost is going to be, at A, B, and C, wholesale, retail, distributor. Then you got to figure how often are we going to run that tool. But all those parameters take anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half to figure out your projections on that part. So you're going to look at all that. And then once you decide that, then you go into the process of actually getting the stuff made. So you're talking 2 to 3 years sometimes on some of these components. By the time you do the analytics on the demand and the pricing, and is the price going to go up or go down potentially? And that's just a whole nother factor that goes into it that a lot of people don't realize. You got to take that into consideration.
Well, that, and then that one part is only for on that one specific vehicle.
Exactly.
I mean, I think with Corvette, I think is probably the smartest direction to go, right? Because those cars are, I mean,
it's
the 63, 64 Stingrays, man, is like the ultimate, like,
it's a tough
pinnacle.
It's a very tough market. There's been a lot of corporate takeovers in the Corvette industry over the last 10 years.
Well, yeah. I guess that's the bad thing about picking the right vehicle to do it on, because then
it's limited. Now, there are a couple parts for the Corvette, like the window switch I mentioned. I have a list of other cars that does fit. We don't advertise it does, but it does fit some other cars. Some of the parts cross over, but it is such a tight market. It's a hobbyist industry for us too.
Yeah, that's true.
So, that's the other thing to consider is when the economy's down, people aren't buying or restoring their cars. We're not selling the parts. We're not moving the parts. They're just sitting on the shelf. That's why it can take, sometimes we'll have runs on certain items. It'll be 3 or 4 months. We'll sell out. Other times it'll be 2 or 3 years. We'll have inventory on the shelf.
Yeah.
We tell our customers up front, if it's made in the U.S. or it's imported, we're not going to beat around the bush with people and make something up that, oh, yeah, it's sourced in the U.S. and we designed it here. No, we may have designed it here, but we get it mass produced overseas. But we pay attention to the quality. And there's a couple items that we make, 63 to 7 door jamb switches. Been making those at EC Products. We've had them manufactured in Taiwan for 25 years. We make 5,000 switches in a batch. Well, that lasts 3 years.
Wow.
So that's just one of the items that we're bringing in that bulk. Like you said, it's one item. So if you're going to tool up in the U.S., what size facility, just for like Corvette, if we're making 2,000 products that are our products we're distributing, how many sets of molds are you going to need to store for a year, 2 years, 3 years till you need to run it again? And then when you go to run it again, you got to source all the supplies because you're not going to keep the raw goods laying around. Waiting for the next batch to be done.
Right.
So that's just a whole nother aspect of it. And I know Taiwan, even China, the labor laws and stuff. There's a couple factories I deal with in China. I've personally met with the factory owners myself, talked to them. They send me videos, pictures. Yeah, they could be hiding something, but I get videos of them making some of the parts. When I've requested, hey, how's this made? They'll actually make videos in their factory making it. They'll send me pictures of the finished product. They'll ship it out to me and pack it, ship it. And they're on it. A month after I get it, they're calling to see if there's any issues.
Oh, that's nice.
But you really have to search those factories out. And there's a lot of companies that don't look at that. They want to get it the cheapest price they can, the biggest volume they can, but they want the most markup to the consumer.
Yeah, of course.
Like, the Amazon part.
They want it fast, cheap, and now, or whatever it is.
Exactly. And not saying that we make stuff that's always perfect. You get failures. When you're mass producing something, if it's 50 or 100,
Oh, sure.
1,000, you're going to get failures periodically.
Yeah.
Really on the same car, for something to be bad back to back to back doesn't happen. But like on those door jam switches, out of 5,000 units, usually we maybe get 100 that are bad,
Yeah.
but that's a very low percentage of
Oh, yeah.
overall production. But that's one, we make 8 different switches for the different years that we distribute to the industry. But dealing with the Taiwan and Chinese factories, they really pay close attention to us for the quality. And we get everything test fitted. When we get new batches in, we open the cases, we'll check them with original parts. We'll get the mics out and see if it's in certain tolerance, so close.
I feel like that's something you would do even if it was made in the United States, though. I mean, anything, right? For everything. Like, why would you not? That's just smart business, right?
You have to do.
You don't pay for something and then not check it, right?
Exactly. It's hard when it's mass. And I was talking to another owner that does Corvette parts a couple of weeks ago, and it always seems, we get our stuff in. So the first stuff off the pallet was the last stuff off their production line. So when you're pulling the bottom of the stack and you're rotating it on your shelf, usually you take the top stuff that's going on the bottom of your shelf. Then you're getting to the first runs. So a lot of times you'll run into, you're going through your cases 4 years later, you get to the last case, then you start finding little issues here and there. But that's what happens. Then you just got to kind of wash your hands with it. Luckily, the factories we deal with overseas, even if it's 3, 4, 5 years later, we'll send them pictures. Hey, we just opened this up. We need to do another run. They'll end up just giving us a credit towards the new parts. And that's what I like about them over there. And as far as some of the U.S. manufacturing I've dealt with, they weren't willing to do that. And they understand that it takes years to sell the product. But when it comes down to it a couple years later, and I don't always ask, like, I need all my money, give me a partial credit or something because it took so long. I am running another production. But most of the time, the U.S. factories won't want to absorb that or, I don't say, take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not going to give my employees a week's pay. Here, go through all 5,000 of this unit or 1,000. Let's make sure everything's perfect before it goes up into storage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just to make sure, because it's a lot of labor time. Like if you had you guys mopping the floors every single day when there's other stuff to be done, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, and that too, then who are you holding accountable in 3 years when you paid that employee and he missed something, right? Yeah. And now he's no longer there. So it's like, it just moved. It doesn't make any sense. And it's a double-edged sword for you too, because by the end of that run, that's about the time you're starting to pull your profit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, now I'm finally making money and these parts are bad and the manufacturer doesn't want to stand behind it. So it's like, I took 3 years to finally pull a profit on this part and it's bad and you don't want to stand behind it.
Exactly.
That's tough, man.
So we do in-house, we do the 63, 64 grills. We actually make them in Tascadero.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
We get the long aluminum straights for the grills.
Yeah.
We cut them to the specific lengths. It takes 34 bar sections of different lengths to make a grill batch. So we cut them on the lengths. We do 40 grills at a time. After we get them cut, I have a plater in LA that bright dip anodizes them for me because that's the way it was from the factory. We have the brackets that are phosphate finished like factory. And we actually have a custom jig that was made. Everything we've been doing like that, I've been doing forever. It's like 20 years on. But we actually put the rivets and the bars and the brackets in this jig and start riveting it together just like the factory did. So we're making these grills in-house, 100% USA made. Rivets made sure they are 100% USA. The brackets are USA made. Grill bar, metal, the aluminum, it's USA sourced, which is very expensive to do. But that's one part that we made sure throughout the years because it's always been that way. We haven't outsourced anything on it. But it is an expensive part, but we're the only ones that make it. So we want to make sure it's above standard, and it'll pass judging.
That's cool.
Last September, I was here at the NCRS convention where they actually had judging taking place. And there was probably about a dozen cars that had our parts on them going through judging. A lot of local guys from Royal Grande area were there. Got to see some people from Kansas City, Nebraska, Michigan. They all had their cars here getting judged. So I got to meet some customers that way and network that way. But seeing the cars with our parts getting judged was really great to see. That was like, a small town of Atascadero, we're distributing these parts worldwide.
Yeah.
And they're meeting I call it the rigorous standards of NCRS, National Corvette Restoration Society. Like on the grills, I saw a couple of our grills on these cars, and the guy was judging it, and he didn't know where I was from. I didn't have my work shirt on or anything. And
Yeah.
then I said, "Hey, did this grill pass judging?" And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, it's perfect. This is the best reproduction out there. And do you want to know where to get it from?" And I'm like, "Where do you get it from?" And he gave me the name of a distributor of mine. But I accepted it. I was like, "Okay, that's good to hear." And when I walked away, and one of my customers was next there, and he heard it. He's like, "You don't want to tell him that you make it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't care who you buy it from. I'm glad it passed judging." We make in Tascadero too. We do the spare tire boards for the C1 Corvettes.
Okay, yeah.
It's a thick plywood. The grain pattern has to go a specific direction. So we actually hand pick the wood that is cut out of. We got to make sure the grain is correct. They have to be cut a certain way. So when it's laying in the car, the grain pattern's going out right to left and not front to back. And then they have a light, like a grayish type stain to it, factory. So I think they had 12 C1s that were judged. I think 8 of them out of the 12 had our spare tire boards. Every single one passed judging standards.
That's awesome.
And that was just for me to see that. It kind of put another topper on, like, it means we're doing it right. There's several parts that we made I physically saw get judged myself, because we never get feedback on the stuff unless if it's bad.
That's true.
Yeah. So, like if you install something, how often do you call the place you got it from? That was a great thing. It worked out perfect.
I think we need to do it more. I think we should all spend more time doing that.
You give feedback to your parts suppliers, and I know it's hard with O'Reilly's and those guys because they're so mass, really, they don't really, I don't know if they really care.
Well, it's kind of like the standard, right? And like the repair shops, I talked to a lot of shop owners. Like this is the biggest one, right? Technicians turn shop owners, right? They want to fix the car the best way possible. And like in your situation, that makes sense. Like if you're building a repop part, it needs to pass a certain quality, right? With like repair shops, if you took your wife's car to the shop, right? The expectation is the car is going to be fixed, right? So like if they fix the car, you're not going to jump up and down like, "Oh, you figured it out, man. Good." And you're high-fiving and all that. Right. If they give you great customer service, right? Gave her a loaner car, gave her a drink, washed the car at the end of it, like all the customer service stuff, right? Like that's the differentiating factor between like a mechanic shop and a repair facility, right? Like the two, and like, but just take your car to a shop and like you fix it, and these technicians are like, "I'll fix it better than anybody else." Is like, I mean, as long as it's fixed, that's all I care about.
Right. Most people don't care.
They don't care, man.
A lot of the Corvette owners too there's a lot that want it to be perfect. Then there's the ones that just want it on the road. So that's why we will offer USA versus import when we can. And that's the first thing we do when someone calls on my end is they'll call, "Hey, I got this car and I need $10,000 of parts." And I was like, "What are you doing with the car? What do you mean? Okay. Do you just want to drive it? You taking it to the repair shop, they're going to fix it, get it on the road? Or are you taking it to the restoration shop that you're going to have it done to go to shows and get judged?" And that's on my end, is trying to find out what someone wants with their car.
That's smart.
Then once they tell me, I want it to be nice, but it's a driver. All right, if you want it to be nice and a driver, like for me, like I'll suggest, imported bumpers versus USA made. They look identical. The chrome plating's not as deep on the imports. I have them on my 57 Chevy. I got an imported rear bumper.
Yeah.
Had it on there 20 years. It's fine. As long as you keep it polished, don't let it sit in the rain, it's not going to pit, bubble, rust on you. That's where we tell people, like, what do you want to do? You take your car just to get repaired. Here, I'll give you this cheaper part. I'll get you on the road. You're fine.
Yeah.
If you're going to do the correct restoration, all right, well, we got to step it up. And instead of spending $350 on that bumper, you're going to spend $800 on that USA made bump.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the sticker shock too, going back to manufacturing also, is that price difference right there. I can get the imported bumpers for $350 to $400 retail per bumper. The USA made are $700 to $800 a piece. So you're spending just about double for the USA made. And not always is the quality in the USA made watched as close as it should be on the chrome plating.
Oh, wow. So it's not perfect.
It's not perfect. And now that's the other thing with General Motors in general. Imperfection is perfection.
I was going to ask you on that too. Do you feel like a lot of that stuff is like the wood grain going left from right? Do you think that was just like a Friday at 5 move, and now you're having to replicate this little, you know what I mean? Like with GM, it's like everything is, like you said, imperfect. Is like, yeah, everyone tries to get these gaps, like they blow their car apart and they try to put it back together. None of the gaps are lining up. It's like, did they line up before you took it apart? I didn't really look. Yeah, because they don't.
No.
Nothing freaking does, man.
Not even on new cars now.
No,
The machines putting them together, they're still not perfect.
Right.
And it's just something that people don't realize. As a consumer, a lot of people don't notice that or realize that.
Until you take it apart and you're trying to put it back together.
Like, he talked about Corvettes because that's what I know that you didn't know because that's what I'm in. When you're restoring one, like a C1 Corvette, the door jamb, you can't polish the door jamb. You spray it with a, kind of a gloss, but you don't buff it out. If you buff it out, you lose points on judging. Because from the factory, they didn't buff the door jambs. The inside of the hood, the lip was painted body color, but the rest was black. They used at the factory, highest quality tool, a piece of cardboard. They held it there and sprayed black all the way down. So when you look at a good quality, like restored car, you'll notice like the hood hinges will have some overspray on them. There might be a little bit on the core support from the black paint or on the edge of the hood.
Yeah.
And that's because the factory, they just used cardboard to block it off when they sprayed them. And the gaps, you can't have perfect gap.
I love that stuff, man. That's like the history is like so because like you look at welds on like control arms or like where they weld the control arms to like the sub and you see the splatter everywhere and you're like that's like the worst weld I've ever seen in my life. Like especially when you start looking at welds and getting like this looks terrible and you start looking and not until you take a car apart and you start putting it back together you start realizing, man, this thing is like not put together very
yeah, that's it looks like a kid spit on it when they were welding and. But that's the thing with the classic car industry. That type of stuff is what you need to be correct. If you grind those trailing arms on a Corvette all the way up to 82, if you grind them smooth and put them on the car and they get judged, you'll lose points for no weld spot. And it's just like there is insanity. Personally, I don't like the judging thing. If you build a car, drive it.
Just drive it, yeah. For sure.
They were built to drive from the factory.
For sure, yeah.
Ground, you got your 1-offs or 1 of 15 or something, but even those were built to drive. The weld splatter and just some of the setups, like trailing arm setups, if the tolerances aren't right on the bearings and the shims aren't right, you put that thing on a trailing arm, the wheel's going to fall off in 6 months. It's going to wobble around and that spindle will probably shear off over time or the bearings will get chewed out. If you got the wrong shim in there. So it's just wonderful designs by Generous Motors.
Generous Motors. I find it it's just so interesting. Like, so 1963, try to do quick math. I don't know. Was that 50 some, what is it? How many years is that? 60 years now? Something like that. Anyway, 60 years. Yeah. 60 years later, you're remanufacturing these parts based on like someone's probably not even in like CEO level, like probably someone on the floor was just like throw the wood in this way, right? And it's like, and now you're repopping it. It's just so interesting to me.
It was a design back then because they were like one direction. So it had to have been like just the supplier of the wood they had and the machine feeding it and cutting it.
Yeah,
had to have been something like that where it was just streamlined.
Oh yeah,
and that's just the way it ended up.
Right.
And it's just, and even like the decals were all crooked from the factory and it's insane the way they did things or wondering how they did it. Or that's where I found out at this judging event on the hood, I was looking at a real nice painted 61 Corvette. Like this car's clean. It's white. It's got everything's correct on it. Passing judging. They opened the driver door, lost points for the door jamb being polished. Opened the hood, it didn't have splatter on the black. And I'm like, what do you mean splatter? That's what the guy told me. He's like, and he actually had a picture of an assembly line guy doing it. The hung piece of cardboard, just spraying the gun, this black paint. I'm like, so if your car looks ugly, you're going to get better points for it. And that's where it's just insane that. And then all these years later, like you said, we're trying to replicate what may have been imperfections at the time.
Right.
But you make them as close as you can with today's technologies.
That's so cool. I don't know.
We also make the glove box door repair kits for those where it's brushed anodized plate of aluminum.
Okay.
Then the Corvette emblem goes on them. So the glove box door comes apart, aluminum sheet goes on there. But the brushed, we went through like 30 samples to find the right brushed finish to make Corvette owners happy. And it's just one of those tedious things that we do on our end to make sure the parts can be there for when people need them.
All the wild little things behind the scenes.
Right. We do all that thinking process. So when someone gets a car in for a restoration, they just get the parts and they go and run with it.
Yeah.
And so our people here, a lot of people don't come to AAPEX because they don't want to see that side of it. Or they'll come and they'll be kind of lost, like, what is this place? Now, this is where you go for, you got your tools, but The companies like mine, we're buying the products. We're not just buying one or two. We're going to buy 500 or 1,000. If someone comes to us and they have it, oh, this could be a good seller. I want this. We get enough demand, and we see someone actually makes it here. Well, all right, we'll negotiate purchasing 1,000 or 500 units or whatever it could be on that part. Then it's great to see SEMA. You go to SEMA, and then you get to see the stuff in action on all these cars.
That's true.
Like I keep going back to Corvette deal because that's what we do. So we see these cars. Actually, I have a couple pictures. Real good friend and customer of mine out of Florida does resto-mods, and he's got two really nice examples here on his floor that we supply all of his, I call them the hard parts, taillights, chrome parts and weather stripping and all that other stuff we supply. And here's a good example in a resto-mod he did. And we supply...
Is that 58?
Yeah, it's a 58. It's got the trunk irons. I guess podcast you can't really see. This is
it's a really nice car.
63 resto mod.
Nice.
Peter Brock edition. So this guy redid the body lines. I know the podcast can't hear it, but the 63 Stingray had a little line going down the back of the split windows.
Okay.
But what he did on this, Peter Brock was one of the original designers of it. He teamed up with this guy to kind of redesign, the 63. So they made it more dominant in the back, and they actually brought it up more like a fin. So you got that shark or that Stingray or Mako. A lot of people call them Makos, of Mako sharks,
right?
In the C3 generation.
Well, that was like, what's his name? Got that Corvette, and they call it the Mako. Joe Rogan?
Was it
No, not Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan he's got a mid-year that's got big old moons, shiny moon wheels on it.
Okay. Anyway, I know there's something called got a Corvette and they call it the Mako instead of the Stingray.
Yeah, that's a lot of people call the C3s the Makos. I don't remember what year.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
But some people will call them Makos. And one of these days you got to come by my place. I have art renderings of some of the experimental Corvettes that are really cool throughout history in there.
The Corvettes are kind of close to me because my dad he has a 64 Stingray convertible. Okay. It's actually in the barn right now. It's kind of the next thing I want to restore once I get a good amount of money. Well, the time, but the money's a big one because I'm gonna go all in on that one. And, so, once you go onto it and it's like, this is my pop's car, like I want to
right.
I'll just
you do it right.
It's gonna be on the back burner for a little bit.
and there's a lot of help too in our area. When you get into that, and that's why I tell local people to the California or even our San Luis Obispo County, I'll reach out to some of our other customers. If someone has a question and I don't know, I'll reach out to some of these NCRS guys for advice.
Yeah.
And kind of line them up with other people.
Yeah.
And that's where aside too, the customer service comes in. Like your shop, great customer service ratings. People love using you guys. And that's our thing is we don't ask people to do Yelp reviews or go on to Google. Don't give us a review. No, at the end of the day, we want to know that you're satisfied. If we do mess up, we're going to take care of it. That's our retail end of most of the customers understand like stuff happens, but it's how we make up for it. So there's been times where my polling people have pulled the wrong part and we ship it and it was in the next bin and like, hey, I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and get a new one out overnight to you. We take care of it right away when we can. We can't always do that with everything, but when we can, we take care of it. That's where, you guys customer service on the shop aspect, and we understand supplying parts to people. Like if you had a customer in with a 70 Corvette and parking brake console was broke, window switches were flying apart, we actually have tooling to that whole section, console reinforcement, window switches. We get you the parts, and I want you to get the parts and install them and be like, those parts fit. But I want the customer to come to you and be like, dude, that worked great. My car's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want you to get the compliments for this. Because if they don't fit and the car takes longer, it's bad on us because it makes the shop look bad. Older cars or classic cars, and not to pivot off of the Corvette stuff because it's just as important as any other of them, but getting parts for those older cars is what's difficult. And it's one of the struggles we have in the shop with the classics and our whole classic car department is trying to just find parts for them, right? And everyone in the whole sales team, everyone wants to pivot more towards the newer cars because it's easy to get parts. It's easy to fix. And the problem is sometimes you order parts and you wait 2 or 3 days and then it doesn't fit right or it's not right. And it's like,
man, that car just sat for 2 days just to look at it, and then it took 3 days to get the part. Now it's been there for a whole work week. Now it's got to wait till next week, which is going to be another 3 days. So it's like that one repair just turned into 2 weeks. The car sits in the shop for 2 weeks for like a window switch.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying your window switch. I'm just saying for anything else, right?
Example. Well, I was here in town. I went to this performance shop that I deal with, and just checking in with them, and brought that up. He's showing me a car he had on there, a Chevelle. Customer barely drove it, and then finally took it out, went to get on it, and it started just sputtering at 5,000 RPM. And he's like, what the hell is going on? Well, what it was on the bottom of the rotor, the thickness of the cross ribs were too wide. So under heavy load, it was grabbing a part of the distributor while it wasn't functioning. So it was machined wrong. And that's one of the things of, paying attention as a parts manufacturer, trying to make it as close and right as possible. And he called the supplier he got that rotor from. And they're like, well, what do you want us to do? Well, you made this freaking rotor wrong. They sent him another one, same measure. He's like, I'm not going to put that on there. And you could see on the bottom where it was hitting on one of the ribs. So he went in his inventory. He found a new stock GM one, measured differently, and put that one on. And that's kind of the attention to the deal. Like you're saying, you wait a week to get something and it ends up being wrong.
Yeah.
Or you put it in and you find out after they start putting a car under a load or start using it heavily, it's going to fail. Then that doesn't look good on the shop. You get into Dorman products, and these guys, they can make a good product, but a lot of their stuff is just so mass produced. You kind of wonder where the quality kind of dropped.
Yeah. There's no quality control.
Yeah, exactly. They're just making it and getting it out.
Yeah. And then hopefully they don't return it when you get it.
Right.
I mean,
but a lot of them, I call it the Amazon deal too, is that if it's bad, they just give you your money back. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story.
or they send you another one, and it's like you said,
Right.
I don't want another one. That one doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then you go 2 or 3, and I do it with just normal parts. Like sometimes control arms or whatever we'll order for not brand new cars, but newer cars, and we'll go through 2 or 3, and it's like order another one, and it's like you get the 4th one, and it's finally different, and it's right because it's different, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we just go through 3 before we got the one that actually fit like it's supposed to?
Yeah. And that, it's about, that's
just parts manufacturing. Like that's what we deal with on the repair side,
When the C7 Corvette came out, I had a guy doing Rusto mods in LA, and he wanted to do C7 suspensions. And I was like, dude, that's totally a different deal on the C7. So they were probably out a month. So I got a hold of all the factory suspension control arms and everything. And what we found out was it worked. The first set he got done. Then he had a couple orders. So we ordered 3 sets of stuff from GM even. Well, it ended up being the control arm deal. We ended up having, out of the 4 sets total, 3 of the control arms were good. On the left, it was the left upper. One of them, though, was just made wrong by GM. And so even the big guys have issues with that stuff. But you run into it where, all right, so at least we got 3 out of 4 right.
Right.
But what happened to this one, And they're like, oh, it should work. And I'm like, no, it's, I think the ball joint placement was off on it a little bit. So someone had a bad day at that factory or something and machined it really. So,
I mean, at least you look into it. So I had one recently where we were doing an AC, like a vintage air, or I don't know what it was, Resto Mod Air or something like that. Or maybe it was just a full-on kit. I can't remember what it was. But the low-pressure fitting was fine. It clipped on. But the high-pressure wouldn't clip on, right? And, of course, right away, I'm like, what, something happened to my fitting, right? So I go test it on another car, and I'm like, no, it's right. And click on. And, the size of it was just a little too small. And, the AC fittings, they crimp on the hose, and the other, it's like a 90-degree, right? So the high-side fit, it just wouldn't clip on. So we call the guy. I'm like, hey, this fitting's not right. Well, I've been selling those for years. I don't it should be fine. I'm like, okay, well, it's not. I'm not here to argue with you. I personally don't care either way. I just need another one that's going to fit. Well, I've sold thousands of those. I don't understand why that wouldn't fit. It's like the immediate attitude, right?
Did he ask you for?
No, that's when I sent him the picture, and I sent him a video. See the video, so I click it on, and then went over to another one, see how it clicks on, because I actually had a couple more in my box. Okay. And then once you compared them side to side, you could see that the one that was installed was a little smaller. Hold on, let me get back to you. And then he's like, yeah. And then they actually went and pulled their whole stock, and they found a whole box full of the wrong ones. But it's like, man,
Tried to argue with you.
yeah, I was like, why? What's with the attitude? Like, I'm not like calling you because I got time in my day to be like.
That's what we get that. And we'll tell people like, hey, we haven't had issues on that, but we first go in to send us pictures.
Yeah.
And then some people go, what do you mean pictures? I was like, take some pictures. We need to know what we're working with. I'm not in wherever you're at to look at the part. Send us pictures, measurements. We'll get you out another one, but we want to make sure our stock isn't the same.
Yeah.
We don't go on to the offensive like it never ever happened.
Well, on the flip side, then you got people that are just kind of not, super bright and and they put and you're like, look, if you flipped it over and turn it around, okay, it went right in. Okay,
square hole, round peg.
Well, you probably deal with a lot too because you're the parts supplier, but they kind of expect you to tell them how to install it.
Yeah.
Do you deal with that a lot?
We deal with that a lot, and that's the first thing. Like we tell people, we are not a mechanic shop. We don't work on them. I got basic restoration knowledge. I could tell them like I could do my own stuff, but I'm not a tech.
Yeah.
And I kind of guide people, and we've had people return stuff before because they said it couldn't fit, it's a crappy part, whatever. So we get it back, and I'll check it out, and local customer comes in with a similar car. Hey, can I test this on your car? If it's something easy and if it fits right on there, like I didn't know what he was doing. Yeah. Not to say, people don't, but there's a lot of people like they either try to do it wrong or upside down or backward.
Right. And then they try to blame you for it because
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we deal with that just like you guys do. And but on the parts side though, it's our job to, I feel it's our job to find out why something happened.
Sure.
When we mass produce something, I do wait for a certain percentage of the items to be bad, truly bad, before I really go into like a redevelopment, because if you get 100 of something, you get 2 that are bad, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you get 30 or 40, years ago there was that early 90s ZR1 oil cooler hoses. Guy had them made, and great, first to market. We started moving them. He said he tested them. We started getting calls within a week. It flooded my driveway with oil. It burst. The hose was getting blown right out of the fitting, high pressure fitting. And every single one we sold, but like one, I think, came back. And so we tell the guys like, I don't have issues with these. And we start talking to other people in the industry because we all buy from each other. That's where the aftermarket parts, at least for specific car lines, nobody makes everything. We all buy from each other. We all are a necessity to supply each other with parts for the consumer. Like if we disappeared, there'd be 2,000 items off the market. That would take someone 5 to 10 years to invest to start getting these parts made.
Crazy.
But on this hose, the guy never took responsibility for it. All he did was just quit selling them. And that right there told me he knew he had an issue because every single one was complaining. And then we started getting people, you need to pay to clean my driveway.
Yeah.
But it happens with parts though. But that's when once we got like our third call, I think, in a week on them after we sold 20, we started calling people. Did you install it yet? Take it off. And then it turned into
that's smart. Yeah.
Go find a local supplier for hydraulic hoses. Take them your original. Ask them if they can custom make you something. That's a high pressure. We were telling people like, we're going to send you a refund label. And if they didn't want to do that, we're going to give you a refund. And we would state in an email, this is a refund for the part. Dispose of the part. Do not use this part. And then that way, try to cover us. But if they did use it, they couldn't come back later and be like, hey, it's a bad part. It flooded my driveway, or my car seized up because all the oil came out. Or
cause an accident or
but we try to look out for the consumer too on that aspect. Where I know a lot of other companies don't really do that. Because it's a liability too when you're admitting fault in something.
Sure.
For us, it was someone else's part, but we went ahead and we ate it. We ended up eating it on a lot of those. But to me, it was better business to just eat it, and we were out a couple $1,000s in hoses than to risk a liability later.
Well, it's playing offense instead of defense. And like there's like the other side of it of like admitting fault, but like judges are people. And if it ever went to like court and you had to do like, I've seen that most of the time, if you play offense like that and you take the responsibility up front, that puts you in a better position than playing defensive and not admitting fault. Like, so everyone's really worried about that. Like, oh man, like I forgot to put the skid plate on this car. I'm not going to call them because I don't want to act like we're negligent or whatever. It's like, no, you call them, man. Like 99% of the people are going to respect you for taking fault.
Right.
Then the next time they go to a repair shop and they're like, hey, you're missing the skid plate. where was I last time? Oh man, like that's, and then you play defense. You wait for the phone call. Like, don't do that.
I know you guys have to have everything in writing too for
Yeah.
customers when you talk to them.
Yeah.
If you miss something in there and they try to call you on it, it's not in writing.
Yes.
They'll come after you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's with the power steering hoses on those Z06s? You deal with those ones, like the C6. Yeah, the SOs, but then the pressure one, they made it to go like all the way down and all the way back down the rack.
It has like a metal line on the end of it.
Yeah, I did a YouTube video on that because I'm like, I could not figure out, and we ordered the hose over. It was one of those things where, is the part wrong? So we'd order it, and we ordered it, and we ordered it, and we kept getting this one that was like completely different than the one we took off, because the one we took off was super short, and then the redesigned one was like a mile long. But they don't tell you that. Like, they don't say it's been redesigned. Right. So it was one of those situations where the car was there for like a week, and we kept ordering it, and it's like, why do we keep getting the same one? This is not the right one.
Yeah, it's odd on some of the stuff that's produced, why it was done. At some point, someone had to say it's going to work better this way, or I really don't have an answer for that. I'm
sure you deal with it a lot, though.
I don't. Okay, yeah, we get that occasionally. Like, why is it designed this way and not A or B? There's a polished body molding that's made off new tooling that's a little bit bigger than the factory molding. And the reason is people can kind of trim it down without ruining it. But when doing body work, if people put their hole alignment in the wrong space, they can readjust the molding to where they're going to tap their holes.
I see.
Because if you replace a front end or something, the holes are filled. So some parts are intentionally made where you can either adjust them, or it's for a better visual or better function on the car. But it helps if someone actually tells you why it is that way.
It does help a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that hose deal, I don't. Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that one?
I've heard of that.
Okay.
Or
that's crazy.
I don't even think we sell that hose right now. It's just one of those weird things. It's, if I'm getting questions that I can't answer like that, no one can give me a good answer, and we don't sell a lot of them, I'll kind of like pull the item because it's kind of like something might happen with this one.
Not worth the time.
Yeah, kind of in a way. Like, we're busy enough without having to build an hour phone call on.
Stay in your lane and just do what you're good at.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the biggest, like, coming to AAPEX? And we kind of started this whole thing here, but what's your biggest driver? What's the biggest thing you get out of coming to AAPEX, as from the parts side?
Well, there's two things actually that are big for me. One is the networking. Like talking to you, meeting people from other countries, other suppliers, just seeing that we're all in the industry together. Because it's a sort of a sense of unity. Like, yeah, you may have competing shops or builders, or like CME got burn off wars, but everybody in this industry is together.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of my big things. The other is just trying to find new manufacturers and products with different factories to keep the industry going. Because if this dies and people don't come here and then this ceases to exist, a lot of people aren't going to find sources for new products. They're not going to see there's new gloves or new motor oil, which I'm surprised how many motor oil suppliers.
It's pretty crazy, yeah.
Which is private label.
Yeah.
But it's very crucial to keep it going just for the industry and for the standard, just to keep everything lubed and rotating and possible.
Well, you can't just like Google, right? Because the internet's so big and chat GPT, like all this, we have all this like technology online to like find what we need. And I feel like that doesn't even hold a candle to like the amount you can get in 3 or 4 days here.
The human interaction, you can get a lot more from AI.
But you can't find them online. Like if you're looking for a new manufacturer, can you just Google, hey, I need Taiwan manufacturing?
The problem you run into, which I've done that before, you got to spend hours and hours shifting through to find out who the real manufacturer is. And I don't want to give away really everything we do, but in a way, I spend hours and hours talking to manufacturers, suppliers. I'll get into AAPEX here in a few minutes. I need to go in here soon.
Yeah.
I got a couple of meetings I got to do over there, but you'll notice if you walk through, you'll notice the same part on like 10 different shelves.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And not everybody's making that part. So usually 1, maybe 2 factories. Why would there be 10 different tools for the same bolt? It doesn't make, even over there, it doesn't make sense. So you got to spend the hours in the research to find out who actually makes that part.
Yes.
I have a performance parts distributor in California that I get my distributors from, and some oil pans. They do like the tack drive HEI distributors and stuff. The place that makes their stuff for them is here, and they've tried to sell to me, but I won't do that because I got a good rapport with the other company.
I see.
But that's the thing is like
But you know who they are.
they're direct, you know, they distribute, but they haven't made overseas. So, but you got to find like this particular distributor I've seen on at least 4 different chucks, but you got to find out who actually is making it. So it's kind of the hunt, you know, and I kind of, you know, I like that kind of craziness at a certain point of, at the end of the day, once you find the factory, you know, you got the direct link.
A little detective work.
Yeah, detective work, but then you got your link to going direct. You're going to save money to save the consumer money.
Yeah.
And for me being wholesale, if nobody else is bringing a certain item in bulk, I do it. That's more customers, clientele for me.
Yeah.
Then that's a more rapport with the factory. They can make more parts. I can buy more in a line from them. Then I could distribute them out to the industry, to everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's just, like I say, just keeping everything going because we supply a lot of repair shops, like your shop.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of shops that specialize just in Corvettes.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have been around 40 years if it hasn't been that.
Right.
And it's really kind of crazy the amount of shops that do full on restorations through vets. And, you know, we ship, you know, we're not big like, you know, some of the other companies, but we're shipping 100 packages a day between retail and wholesale to people all over the world for parts.
Yeah, that's
It's a
lot of logistics.
It's a lot of logistics. It's parts coming in, parts going out, sourcing new items. I actually had a factory closure in Taiwan this last year that made a handful of items for me. And now I have to kind of find out what do they do with my tooling? Where's the tooling? I'm lucky I got people over there that can go visit these sites.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of a recovery mission we deal with to make sure those parts stay out there.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff, we're the only ones that make a couple of these items. So right now they're just building up back orders and nobody's going to invest the money in making them because we already did. So it's just kind of the part struggle. You know, we get the parts in so the repair shops haul and hopefully we have what you need. You know, if you got a classic car, either, you know, even a C4, C5, 97 to 04, we were the first to market with the aftermarket power window switches.
Wow.
So GM was discontinuing them. I got with a factory overseas that does work for GM currently. That's the other thing a lot of people don't realize. GM deals with China and
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I was able to get some information on the switch, sent them some originals. And by the time GM fully discontinued them, it was actually January of 2019. I got my first shipment. I think that COVID started like in March of 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
It was right before COVID started. We got our first shipment of these switches in, and we were first to market on the reproductions. And we sold that first year about 1,200 switches. And then after that, they started popping up on Hong Kong for $6. And something I did different on ours, though, I'm trying to reinvent it. On the circuit board, instead of the screw-in bulbs, I had LEDs integrated. But I made sure they used a good quality LED and the circuit board was a good quality board. So after about 3 years of these, when our sales slowed up because everybody was taking the market with the cheap, I called them knockoffs,
Yeah.
$12, $13, I was getting returns from people and I was opening them up and they clearly were trying to do a switch on me. That if it's only failed, they bought the one from me.
Wow.
And I could tell the circuit board, the LEDs were different. The stampings on the boards were all different than mine. So, you know, we make sure the products we make are a better quality than the next, but we got to mark them to make sure it's ours.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on the market. People are getting the good thing. You know, and those switches, like if you have the 97 to 04 with memory that went out, we got probably 500 on the shelf. But that's just the stuff I'm constantly looking for, trying to bring in. And
That's good that you do that. And it's funny you bring that up because that's one of the things we do because people will buy, you know, the Dorman part and then they'll buy the Eklund or standard and they'll do the swap part and they'll send the cheap part back. So we open the box up. If we order a Timken bearing, like better be a Timken bearing.
Yeah.
Right. Because sometimes you open it up, it's like standard bearing. You're like, no.
Exactly.
I ordered the Timken. Like
someone did
that happened. Oh yeah, man. And then the parts store, they just take it back, put it on the part. Like no one looks at it. Right. And I can't really blame them for that. They're huge, you know.
I just had companies, Carter send me some fuel pumps, and one of the fuel pumps, someone clearly bolted it up, hooked it up, ran it, and then returned it. And I opened the box up, smelled like fuel, bolt marks. They're like, well, we wouldn't send that out to you. And I'm like, I don't install parts here.
Yeah.
I just got this in. It smells like gas. There's bolt marks. You can't tell me that I did this.
Yeah, I'm not calling you because I have free time right now, man.
Exactly.
It smells like gas in the shop, and it shouldn't because we don't work on cars.
Exactly. So, well, I got to get going.
Yeah, man, I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Of course. Listen, if you're anything like me, you know the struggles of inconsistent car count and tight margins. That's where Repair Shop of Tomorrow comes in. They help shop owners like us increase sales, improve efficiency, and grow our businesses with proven strategies. Check them out at repairshopoftomorrow.com today and start growing tomorrow.